Very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to rise in the House today and speak in support of our provincial budget. But before I get into the details of the budget, there are some people that I would like to thank. I would like to thank my husband, Terry. He's been my biggest champion and a longtime supporter. I really appreciate the just the constant reminder of the work that I do that he gives me. It's each and every one of us have the opportunity to spend time in the community talking to people, and a lot of times we sort of feel like we've shortchanged our family. And I know I was elected in 2007, but I've always made sure that my husband he's number one, because he's been my biggest champion. I also would like to thank my constituent assistant, Kelly Zazula. Kelly's been with me since 2008, and I know my constituents always feel that they are very well served by her response. She's just such a capable, competent young woman who has the ability to really connect with my constituents of Regina Rochdale. And I'd like to also thank the constituents of Regina Rochdale for selecting me to represent them. And I've had the pleasure of doing that since the election of 2007. Regina Rochdale is one of the most vibrant constituencies in the city of Regina. It's growing in leaps and bounds, and it's really an honour to have the opportunity to meet so many young families that are moving into my constituency. We're very well served by the joint school that was built within Regina Rochdale. The school is located on the northwest corner of the city. In fact, there's nothing between that school and Lumsden except prairie and bush. So it's kind of, it really speaks to the optimism that we have for Regina and for the constituency of Regina Rochdale, because we know it's a vibrant, growing community. And I'd also like I'd like to thank the colleagues that really rolled up their sleeves, our colleagues here in the government, when the decisions were being made on some of the tough decisions in regards to the budget. When the finance minister comes to caucus and asks our opinions and advice, she's very open to the suggestions we make. And because of that, we've managed to strike the right balance. Just this past weekend, I had the opportunity to go out. It was a fabulous spring day. I think it was plus 14, to go out and door knock in my constituency. And the reception that I received on the door was it was warm, it was inviting, but also people were so positive. And they thanked us for being fiscally prudent, but also striking the right balance, making sure that money was being invested in education, in health care. But what they said to me over and over again, thank you very much for no new taxes and no tax increase. Each and every one of my constituents works very hard to live within their own household budgets, and so they appreciate that. In fact, as government representatives, when putting together a budget, that is foremost in our mind. It was a commitment that we made to ensure that we had a balanced budget, and thanks to the hard work of the finance minister, she was able to deliver just a week ago a very well-received budget. I must say that this year was very different than last year. Last year was a very difficult time with the Humboldt tragedy, and this year there was still, I know there was a lot of people that came and attended, were still reminded of that horrendous accident, and yet the strength and the perseverance of our finance minister. You can just see she's just a strong leader for the government, but also for the province of Saskatchewan. It was also a real pleasure to see the finance minister's 3 daughters in attendance, because, you know, I guess we can all realize and appreciate the leadership of our finance minister, and as a strong female leader, she sends a very strong message. And having her 3 daughters here really just magnified, one, that she's very capable and competent in her role as a finance minister, but also as a mom, as an MLA who looks after a constituency. This is a woman who does triple duty, in fact, but does an absolutely incredible job. So I think we can all be very proud to have a female finance minister who knows how to get the job done. And I was pleased to see that education played a very important role in this budget. We have planning dollars being put aside for St. Pius and Argyle School here in Regina. Now, I know the member from Lakeview from the opposition should be very pleased, because those sit within her constituency. So we don't play politics when it comes to education. And in fact, what we do is we ensure that the job is being done and our students are being put are foremost on our mind. I had the opportunity to talk to my neighbour about the St. Pius School. And my neighbour is an architect, Harry Jedlick. And it was interesting because in 1976, Jedlick Architects did an assessment of St. Pius School. So that's 1976. And they said at that point that school was in need of major repair. And that was under the Alan Blakeney government. That was an NDP government. And what did they do? Absolutely nothing. 1976 was also kind of an interesting year in Saskatchewan, is when the NDP chased out a ton of business. K+S was one of them, because they took over the potash industry. So it was a very dark day in Saskatchewan. So it wasn't just the deplorable situation of St. Pius School in 1976, but in fact it was the what happened with the potash industry. But there was one bright light. In fact, in 1976, the Sherwood Credit Union opened up a green machine. So it was the first ATM in Saskatchewan. So there is a bit of a bright light there. I really wish the opposition would take some time to listen to some of the things we have to say, because, you know, I think each and every one of us, when we come here because we want to serve. We want to be able to do the best we can for the people of Saskatchewan. So sitting in across and heckling and shouting, you know, when we're talking about really important issues, such as the planning of 2 new schools within the city of Regina, you know, it's really kind of sad, because it shows a lack of respect for this place, but it also shows a lack of respect for the people of Regina. So I just wanted to kind of remind them that one of the reasons why we're here is to serve the people of Saskatchewan. I'd also like to talk a little bit about why we work hard to be fiscally prudent. We do it for future generations, and we do it for the people of Saskatchewan here today. I am so proud of so many of the young people that I have a chance to meet that are stepping up in leadership roles. And I know within my own family, I have some nieces that absolutely are they're leaders in their own right, and they set such a fine example for the people around them. I have a niece that's Julie Stiglitz. She's the principal of Bert Fox High School in Fort Capel. Now, last night, she went home from being a principal and went over to the curling rink, and in fact, she curls in the mixed lead, and they won their championship. So congratulations to Julie for the leadership role that she plays to her students. She's very committed. She's a mom. She's got 2 beautiful young kids, but she absolutely is committed to our education. And so I appreciate the work that Julie does in their community, but also she does a lot of coaching in their youth in curling. So she is very invested in in Fort Capel, but also into their students. So I commend her for it. I also have a niece, Jennifer. So this is Julie's younger sister. And I have to read a bit of an article that was written about Jennifer, because Jennifer, we're all so proud of her, because Jennifer is an engineer with Husky. And I'm just going to read a bit of an article that was written about Jennifer, in that she first dabbled in engineering as a summer student, doing research on pipeline flow. Well, you know, that's kind of, when you say dabble, that's an interesting thing, because she's brilliant, but she really is committed to ensuring that that the oil industry is well served by very smart, upward young engineers and female engineers. But it was, so she had the opportunity to work in the Husky upgrader in Lloydminster. And so she's been there for 15 years, and she has now been selected. She's now the Senior Manager of Planning and Optimization. And she leads evaluation and planning development opportunities that maximizes the profitability of this upgrader. How Jennifer works between Lloydminster and Minnedosa, Manitoba, because she's also working as the plant manager for their ethanol plant. So there's a young woman that we can be very proud of, a Saskatchewan young woman, an engineer. She also leads a group within Husky that is encouraging young women to take leadership roles. And so this is like I said, I'm so proud of those 2 nieces. I also have a niece, Glenna Potts, in Yorkton. There's a young entrepreneur. She owns 2 businesses, a Benjamin Moore paint store and a clothing store. And there's this young single mom who's going all out and ensuring that Saskatchewan is well served by young women in leadership roles. So, Mr. Speaker, this is what we see all over. I have the opportunity as the chair of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians to meet young women from across this province, and I must say that I am just so excited to see that so many of these young women are considering a life in public service. And because that's one of the roles that I play, is to encourage them to think about sitting on school boards, city councils, RMs, provincially or federally, because, you know, we know when we talk about the right balance in the budget, we also look to having the right balance in elected positions, because we know that once we have more women sitting at the decision-making table, good decisions are being made, as such as was made by our finance minister. I've got to say, she shows absolutely incredible strong leadership, and if I'm encouraging each and every one of us to go up and visit her office here in the Legislative Assembly, and guess what? All of her whole staff is within her ministry, in that minister's office is women. So that shows strong leadership that we have of young women stepping up, knowing that, in fact, Saskatchewan is the right place for them to be. And, Mr. Speaker, we didn't take this budget lightly, because it was a commitment to ensure that we had the right balance for Saskatchewan. But people have told us over and over again they wanted to make sure that we were fiscally prudent and socially responsible. And, Mr. Speaker, this budget is just that. We ensured that revenue sharing, for example, with the City of Regina, since we formed government in 2007, the increase of revenue sharing is 149%. Now, that is something that the members from the opposition should really pay attention to, because it's something they absolutely just ignored. And so in order to have a good working relationship with our cities, with our municipalities, we have to make sure that, in fact, we treat each other respectfully. And so this is something that I know as Regina MLAs on the government side, we have the opportunity to sit down with our Regina City Council, and we go through different issues and concerns, and we have an open dialogue. And, you know, it's through fruitful discussions that good governance is put in place. So, Mr. Speaker, with that, I am going to make sure that any further discussions we have with the city is open, is positive, and the people of Regina will be best served by a Saskatchewan Party government. And, Mr. Speaker, I will be supporting the budget, but I will not be supporting the amendment put forward by the NDP. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.